we will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
Developing tonight, there is intense backlash to President Trump's pledge to move the U.S. Embassy for Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, with some Palestinians living in Jerusalem claiming that it will, quote, trigger an explosion. Here to debate, Brooke Goldstein is a human rights attorney and director of the Lawfare Project. David Tafori is a former State Department official and former Obama campaign foreign policy advisor. David and Brooke, glad to have both of you with us tonight. Thank you for being here. Brooke, let me start with you. What's your take on this?
Well, you know, my take is that there's a fundamental misunderstanding of the laws of cause and effect. Moving an office to Jerusalem is not what's going to cause Islamist violence. It's imams preaching death and violence as a legitimate response to hurt feelings, preaching reestablishment of the caliphate and throwing the Jews into the sea is what is the direct cause of violence. And you know what else Islamists are angry about? Cartoons of Muhammad, the failure to mutilate the genitals of young females, the education of women in the Western world also angers Islamists. And just like we don't appease Islamists in those categories, we certainly do not appease Islamists when it comes to directing the foreign policy of the United States. I think it's a wonderful move. It is totally in compliance with not one, not two, but 3 acts of Congress, including the Jerusalem Embassy Act of 1995 that directs the State Department to move its embassy to Jerusalem, the eternal capital of the Jewish state.
All right. So, David, she lays out a good case. What's wrong with it?
I applaud President Trump for saying today through his spokesman that he is not going to do this right away and he's going to continue to look at the issue. The reality is that each of our last 3 presidents, Obama, Bush, and Clinton, also said at some point during their campaign they would move the embassy. And when they got into office, they thought better of it. The reason is that moving the embassy has no practical benefit for the U.S. or for Israel. We should be thinking about strategies that are going to help improve U.S. interests in the Middle East right now. That means defeating ISIS. That means solving the civil war in Syria, stopping the creation of failed states like Syria, and getting the Middle East peace process between Israel and Palestine back on track. This will not do any of those things.
I hear your argument, but you could make an argument that the things that we have done to sort of tiptoe around and hope that we're going to get backing from all of these countries really has not yielded fruit. So does not moving an embassy really make a difference when you look at all of the things that we've done to build a successful coalition against Islamic extremism?
It has no benefit for the U.S. It doesn't help us at all. It doesn't help us do our job better in Israel. It doesn't help us do our job better in the Middle East. It doesn't help Israel either. If we want to try and make a statement about Israel, do something to support Israel. Provide more military support. Invite Netanyahu here for a private meeting with the president. But let's do things that have an impact. This will incite violence in the Middle East and make it harder for us to get the Middle East peace process back on track.
I'm surprised, go ahead, Brooke. David, that you would take that position. I mean, you penned a brilliant op-ed in CNN saying that the last thing we want to do is give in to the territorial aspirations of ISIS, and that by allowing ISIS to continue to think it can create an Islamic State, that's the appeasement of terrorism. And when you argue against moving the embassy, and what they're advocating for is moving it to West Jerusalem, which nobody disputes to be the capital of Israel, what you are doing is arguing for the Islamist notion of from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free of Jews. You are encouraging and appeasing terrorism.
Right,
and there's a general, you know, okay, we'll stop it there.
All right, Brooke, thank you very much. You made a great point. David, you did as well. Good to have you both here tonight.